The Harbour Bridge protest of a few weeks ago, 90,000 people making their way across the Harbour Bridge. Organisers say it was closer to 7 million. We all know the number is a little closer to that, 90,000. I joke about the 7 million. But we also know that the police and the Premier said they didn't want this to happen. So it was a court that ultimately turned around and said that the same people who've been doing protests for the past couple of years, well, they had enough form to be able to have what turned out to be that mega march across the Harbour Bridge. Well, get ready for another march across the Harbour Bridge. But if this gets to court, will they be given the same benefit of the doubt as the groups that have previously been allowed to defy the police and defy the Premier? What do you reckon? Now, it is going to be a version of what took place last weekend, but allegedly the people who are behind this are described in the media today as sovereign citizens and anti-vaxxers who are apparently getting behind the idea of another march, this one across the Harbour Bridge. I'm going to read from their article today. The Australia Unites Against Government Corruption has lodged a Form 1 document, i.e. wanting to cross the Harbour Bridge in a couple of Sundays' time, this one being September the 13th. The website advertising the rally claims to advocate for, quote, transparency and accountability, uniting citizens in the fight for a better government, and urges participants to vote no confidence in the government by turning up to the rally. One group helping to organise the event, My Place Australia, encourages people to step away from the current system. According to the group's website, My Place, communities encourage free will, free speech and sovereignty. Now, we knew that this was going to happen. We knew that once it was allowed to happen once, then many other groups would claim that they have just the same right to walk over the bridge to disrupt the city in the way that has previously been facilitated. So do you have a right to march across the Harbour Bridge, or is it up to a court to decide whether your cause is holy or not? The Premier of New South Wales is as exasperated as the rest of us, but then again, he didn't want the original march to happen either.
Look, in all candour, I really hope not, and I've been really consistent in relation to this. Protests on the Harbour Bridge are massively disruptive. They split the city in two. In terms of police resourcing and keeping the public safe, they're hard to do. It's hard for the police to roll out the hundreds and hundreds of police that they need for such a narrow slither of real estate to keep the public safe.
Now, even if there are going to be, let's say, 90,000 people that are going to say on the internet that they are going to turn up to this thing, I wouldn't be surprised if a court says no, because, of course, they disagree with the cause. But also remember, one of the apparent justifications for the march across the Harbour Bridge a few weeks ago was because the same group had been marching for the best part of 2 years. They had done so without significant incidents over the past couple of years. Now, you know and I know there was plenty of signs, lots of bizarre flags being waved and some pretty nasty things being said. But because they had form protesting, that apparently was the reason they were able to do it. Now, I don't know whether the argument's going to be because the situation last weekend was not a situation that caused a huge amount of trouble. Yes, disruption, but not a huge amount of trouble. That will be the reason why they get to go around again, or whether a court has to say, no, you've got to do it 100 times before we can trust you that you're going to be able to facilitate this. But again, it will come down to what I said was a problem at the time. Rather than the court siding with the police and the Premier, who of course have to deal with the consequences of the decision of the court, it'll be up to the court to decide, and the court probably will say no. Not because they don't think you have the right to protest on Harbour Bridge, but because they don't agree with the cause. Watch this space.